Hello everyone and welcome back to my F122 My Team career mode for the Portuguese Grand Prix, the third to last round of the championship and the second additional track on the calendar after we had Shanghai earlier on. After practice we have to do some R&D, the final lot of the season really, and if I was paying attention to the little thing on the right, I would have noticed that we have to rush this upgrade to get on the car in time for Abu Dhabi. However, I was not paying attention and I didn't rush it, so that's entirely pointless, and we won't have any upgrades on the car by the end of the season, unfortunately. So yeah, our car will probably remain as it is from here to the end, which is a little unfortunate, but we do have the best car at the moment. One bit of bad news for us though is that the weather forecast is not looking good for the end of the race. No rain in qualifying, but a little bit forecast for the last part of the race, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we now get into qualifying then, and yeah, we will see how this session plays out into Q1 then. And Q1 all goes fairly well. We got held up on our first lap, but we did a second consecutive lap on the same set of tyres, and we actually smashed it in that session, found huge amounts of time and really string that second lap together. I actually really struggled in practice. I couldn't even complete all the practice programs and go purple in all three of those practice programs, so I didn't touch the difficulty. I just figured maybe the practice programs are hard in Portugal, I don't know, but yeah, it seems that our pace in qualifying is much better, so yeah, I don't know what the story is there, but yeah, for some reason I really could not get to grips with this circuit in practice, but in qualifying the pace is much better, so yeah, I don't know how that's happened, but anyway, the balance has certainly shifted in our favour, and I should also mention that while I did struggle to complete the programs, the lap times I was doing relative to the other drivers were very competitive, so I would say the requirements for the programs were just a bit off. But anyway, we continue to push on then through into Q2. No real surprise knockouts in Q1, but yeah, Q2, and we just managed to top Q2 as well, not by as much, but we still topped the session, so again, no huge surprises there, although Sergio PEREZ gets knocked out in Q2, so a bit of a surprise there, I suppose, but nonetheless, the Red Bulls, they haven't really been slipping away in terms of R&D, but Sergio PEREZ with a lot of unreliability this season, so he may be running out of power unit components and be running on very worn components at the moment, maybe slowing that car down, I don't know, but regardless, he is knocked out in this session, and yeah, he will not advance into Q3, so it is myself ahead of the two Ferraris and Max Verstappen as we head into Q3. So it is all the title contenders at the front, as it should be, and they were much closer to me in that session. So we'll see how it goes as we head into the final round of qualifying. And this time we had no traffic on our first flyer, unlike the first two sessions, I will mention. But yeah, we managed to get our first lap in clean this time, and yeah, I'm finally starting to get to grips with this circuit again. I haven't had a lot of practice around this circuit overall. I've really only done a handful of full-length races around here, so yeah, it does take a little bit to get used to it again. But I do really very much enjoy the Portimao Algarve circuit. Whichever name you choose. But anyway, coming around the final corner here, this last corner is one of the most satisfying corners on the Formula 1 calendar as we cross the line, and that lap will top the session.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. The scientist, Sainz, and Lando Norris. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Carlos Sainz joins us on the front row. Great effort from Lando to start P3. Charles Leclerc P4, Max Verstappen P5. And decent effort from Esteban Ocon there as well, P6. There are the championship standings. Max Verstappen still leads the way by a singular point ahead of us. Charles Leclerc 11 points off, so it is all very, very close. Charles Leclerc P4, Max Verstappen P5 on the grid, so yeah, they will need to work their way forwards if they want to keep their championship fights going. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the race.
Welcome along then to Portimao, one of the busiest towns in the Algarve and a breathtaking destination that brings tourists from all around the world to the shores of southern Portugal. Today it's the backdrop for the latest round of the Formula 1 World Championship, and with a circuit this wide, we could be in for a lot of exciting wheel-to-wheel action today. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9-mile length. 9 are right-handers, 6 are to the left. This is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. The scientist lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Russell, Lance Stroll, and Perez. Oscar Piastri, Leclerc, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Tictum and Esteban Ocon, they've taken a grid penalty. Albon, Ricciardo, Jehan Deruvala, and Gasly, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Max Verstappen, and Kevin Magnussen. Norris, Joe, Tsunoda, and Robert Schwartzman. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Only 3 races left. You still have a chance at the title, but going to need some special performances. See what you can do, mate.
Alright then, so here we are on the grid for the Portuguese Grand Prix. As you saw on the grid sequence, Charles Leclerc penalised down to 8th position, Max Verstappen down to 17th. So they have a lot of work to do in this race. In terms of strategy, it'll be softs to 2 sets of mediums. We'll see how the rain factors into that. We may not use the second set. We will see. But anyway, here we go then for the start of the formation lap.
Okay, how was that pull away? You'll have a bit more grip than that on the start, but we need to warm the tyres properly now. Make sure you get some heat into the brakes as well.
And how was the pull away? I didn't. And yeah, I immediately got swamped by the... Oh, I almost drew the back of Carlos Sainz there into turn 3. So yeah, it's been a awkward start to the formation lap.
Conditions look stable at the moment, no rain currently expected.
But yeah, the rain won't be here for a while, so the strategy for this race, I've set the difficulty to a sort of midway point between what I would for the wet and the dry. As I've said in the past, I'm not strong in the rain, so yeah, I usually set the difficulty lower in wet races, so I'm hoping I can pull away in the dry conditions so that when it rains, I'm not going to get completely swamped and finish in last position, which has happened in the past. But anyway, we will see how it goes as we do finally get back into our grid slot position ahead of all the other drivers, and we can move on and take our place on the grid on pole position.
Okay, incredible parking there, nice one. That's going to give you the edge if you can get a good launch as the race starts. Okay, so that's the rest of the grid forming up now. Be patient and watch for those lights.
Alrighty then. Hopefully we can get a clean getaway as we are ready to go for the start of the race here in Portugal, waiting for the rest of the field to queue up. And here we go then to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the Portuguese Grand Prix. And it has been a pretty good start for us. We've gotten away from Lewis Hamilton behind. We go a bit deep into turn 1 though, but we will maintain the position ahead of Hamilton's sights in 3rd position. And we maintain a station there. Sergio PEREZ in 4th place ahead of George Russell at P5. We did probably gain a little bit running wide through turns 1 and 2, but no issue there. And yeah, we were well clear of Hamilton on the run down, so I don't think we were going to hold on to the position regardless, so I don't think that will be an issue there. And we'll just push on, and yeah, throughout stint 1 and 2 in this race, here is where we need to push, here is where we need to make a gap to the field behind, and make sure we have a buffer for when the rain comes down in the later stages, so that when we inevitably do lose pace, we do not find ourselves getting caught out in the wet conditions and have the whole field flying by. And hopefully we can still hold on to some decent track position by the end. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. But lap 1 now in the books, running a bit wide out of the final corner.
No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
Car is all clean, no damage, so we'll just continue racing on. And we get a fair way into the race, no issues yet. We've got a big lead, and everything is all going to plan so far.
Okay, we've been informed of an incident.
And a safety car is out, and it is Lando NORRIS who has come a cropper, slamming into the back of the AlphaTauri there, just too late onto the brakes for the McLaren driver on board here with Dan Ticktum, whom Lando NORRIS was fighting away with. And yeah, you can just see Lando was far too late on the brakes there, and just a bit eager to get that move done on Dan Ticktum, and just completely misjudged his braking point, looking rearward there from Pierre Gasly. And yeah, he only has himself to blame for that one there. Unfortunately, Yuki Tsunoda also got caught up in the incident. A lot of cars coming to a stop there. Tsunoda actually got his car stopped, and then Jane Deruvala slams into the back of the AlphaTauri there, and pushes him forward into the back of one of the Williams cars.
This lap, then. Come into the pits at the end of this lap.
And that is what puts the AlphaTauri out of the race. So that's very unfortunate for Yuki, not his fault there at all. So yeah, that's a shame for him. But 2 cars out of the race in all that. Somehow Jane Deruvala's car just a front wing change, and he is back in the game for him. But anyway,
that was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
Make our stop under safety car, and we will lose that massive lead we had. So we'll need to try and get that back again. But yeah, that is a shame. This was the one concern I had in this race, that a safety car could ruin it for us. In Mexico, when we had the rain at the start of the race, I was praying for a safety car the whole time, and it never happened. But it is now in Portugal, when I didn't want a safety car, one has come. So luck not on our side, it seems, but hopefully we can still come away with a good result. We still have the entire stint to try to pull away from the field behind.
Okay, the safety car's coming in this lap. We'll be pacing the field in sector 3. Make sure to respect the delta until the safety car's into the pit lane.
You know, it's only lap 18 of the race, now starting lap 19 in a moment, so I'm not expecting the rain to hit for a little while yet, so we still have time to pull away. We hit the gas out of the final corner, and we accelerate away from the field. It's been a nice clean restart for us, and we will resume racing and cleanly through the first sector. And yeah, this time we'll keep things contained on the road. And now Lewis Hamilton, I think he made his pit stop potentially under green flag, and that has actually dropped him behind Carlos Sainz. So we've lost our buffer. Hamilton didn't have the pace of us, and certainly not of the Ferrari. So that has changed the sort of pace of this race a bit, because Sainz has a lot more pace than what Hamilton had, and I'm really struggling to pull away from Carlos Sainz as we continue on through this race onto lap 24 now, and Sainz is still not really dropping away from us too much. So yeah, this has shaken up the race, because Sainz is keeping up with us, and I'm just not feeling as good on these medium compound tires all in all as well. So yeah, it's definitely changed things up in this race, and I'm just making more mistakes as well at this phase of the race. That safety car has just sort of put me out of a rhythm, I think. So hopefully we can get things back under control, but at the moment you can see I'm just all over the place. I need to get my head back in the game, because right now I am not you know, just not stringing things together, and if I'm not careful, Sainz is going to be right on me once again. But Sergio Perez, a retirement with a mechanical failure. That's his 50 millionth of the season for Sergio Perez. He has not had the luck on his side, and not the title of defense he would have been looking for. As we continue on though, we do eventually begin to pull away from Carlos Sainz, all the way on to lap 38 now in this race. We eventually pull out almost 5.5 seconds on Carlos Sainz, so we do eventually start to find our rhythm again. The mistakes get fewer and further between, so yeah, that is good.
Push now, we're boxing this lap.
And it eventually comes time for our box lap onto our second set of the medium compound tyres. So yeah, here is our decision point. When well, that's a spin and a full 360, and we will keep it going. That's gonna cut into our margin significantly, but thankfully we are a fair way ahead and will maintain the race lead. We, I think, stayed off the curb there, so there shouldn't be any floor damage from that. But that was a moment that we really didn't need. But we're not going to pit.
We're expecting the rain to hit us any time now. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment.
Because yeah, it's going to rain any tick of the clock. So yeah, there's no point bringing it in this moment of the race. So yeah, we are just going to continue to push on, continue to try and push away from the field as much as we can. And if everyone else pits, that is going to give us a huge buffer and potentially make up for that safety car.
10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there. Okay, dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Continue to push on. Now the rain hits, and you can see we're starting to slip and slide a bit in these conditions as the track continues to deteriorate and the rain comes down. It will soon be time to switch to those
check your MFD for a new strategy option.
Intermediate tyres, and is that the switch? There it is.
Okay, copy that.
It is now time for the groove tyres, so we move on then to the end of the lap. We'll bring it in, and we will put those intermediate tyres on the car, and they will take us more than likely to the end of the race. The key will be for us to just remain mistake free for the rest of the race. I'll be out on my own with only laps cars around us really, so there shouldn't be too much pressure. I'll just need to make sure I don't make any silly mistakes, no spins.
Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
And we'll just keep track of the gap behind.
You're leading the pack. That's P1. That's Sainz behind you now. And the gap behind us is 33.8 seconds. Our gap behind is 32.0 seconds, 29.6 seconds, 28.4 seconds, 26.5 seconds, 24.2 seconds. The rain looks like it's going to be getting much lighter over the next 10 to 15 minutes. There should be more grip, but don't expect a dry track yet. Inters seem to be the fastest tyre for now.
Well, I wasn't expecting a dry track anytime soon, but thank you for the weather update nonetheless. But we're actually under pressure quite a lot at the moment from Mick Schumacher. He's got decent pace right now in the Haas compared to myself. And yeah, as you heard from all those timing updates, Carlos Sainz is catching us. Eventually I just let Mick Schumacher go, and he can just go off, do his own thing. We don't need to be fighting away with a lapped car. And yeah, but what's quite annoying is the spray coming off these lapped cars. Once he did get past, it was very distracting. Had a big old fishtail there, nothing to do with the spray. That was just the loss of the rear end. But now the spray coming off 3 lap cars as we almost drilled the back of the AlphaTauri there of Dan Ticktum. And yeah, that was a bit of a moment. And all of that playing out at once. The fishtail losing those that track position to all of these lapped cars at once has slashed the margin to Carlos Sainz behind from about 12 seconds to just over 6 seconds. So the margin has effectively halved on this lap to Carlos Sainz. So we were looking relatively comfortable to get to the end and remaining in the race lead. It would have been a bit tight, but now Carlos Sainz is looking set to catch us almost certainly.
Leading the pack, that's P1.
And as we continue on to the very next lap, Sainz is on us. That lap was awful that followed. So as we continue to push on to the end of lap 61, Carlos Sainz has an opportunity here. So as we continue to work our way towards the very last stages in this race, just a matter of 5 laps left in this one, we will need to defend for our lives because Carlos Sainz is a second or 2 a lap faster at least.
Weather's certainly eased off for the time being, but we've still got a lot of standing water out there. We're happy for you to stay out on the inters for now.
And that is when I'm driving at my absolute best. So we are going to be having to defend like a madman. But anyway.
Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 44.9 seconds.
We managed to hold him off for a lap. Thankfully, overtaking around this circuit can actually be a little bit tricky, even in the rain. So that does make defense in turn relatively easy. So as long as we can cover the inside line, it's a little tricky out of turn 4, but we got a decent enough exit that we're not really under threat into turn 5. So as long as we can get good exits where we need to, and yeah, we should be alright. Sainz down the inside though, and as we run side by side now, a bit wide for us on board now with Charles Leclerc as he's getting himself involved in this battle. He's the one in the championship fight, remember. He can't afford to do anything silly here, and Sainz is through into the race lead. We throw it back down the inside though as we head into the set of right-handers, and we'll make our way back through on Carlos Sainz and back into the race lead. We are not going to let this one slide as Carlos Sainz briefly took it away from us, but after we've led the opening 63.5 laps this race, we are not going to let it slide with just a handful to go. So as we make our way now around the final corner once again, we need to make sure we drive with absolute perfection for the rest of the race. We've broken away from Carlos Sainz again. And what do the Ferraris do here? Because, like I said, Leclerc is the one in the championship fight. Will they swap positions?
Okay, this is your final lap of the race. Gap to your teammate behind is 43.5 seconds.
Because Charles Leclerc is the one who needs those championship points. We'll see, I guess. But at the moment, it is Carlos Sainz, the one attacking, and he's the one who's had good pace all weekend. He's the one who qualified on the front row. So maybe he's the one who should be trying to take the lead. We'll see how they play it, but at the moment he is still the one putting the pressure on his Carlos Sainz. We're holding him off so far though, as we run up the hill once again out of turn 5 and into the complex middle sector. This is where Sainz went for the move earlier, but he's not close enough this time.
10 minutes left of this rain, then we think it's going to dry up. 10 minutes.
And in fact, the two Ferraris are very close. And they've switched places. Charles Leclerc now ahead of Carlos Sainz. So now we have a new contender behind us, although they are both still very close together, both within a second of us. And in fact, Max Verstappen less than 2 seconds behind us in 5th place. And a great drive from him, by the way. From P17 on the grid to be in 5th place. Fantastic performance from Max Verstappen in that Red Bull. But for us here in Portugal, it has been a great day overall. Slipped a bit at the end, but we are still going to come home with a race victory here at the Algarve circuit. What a day.
Oh, that's the race win. That is the race win. You've been amazing today, mate. You deserve that. Well done.
Unbelievable. We just about held on there. We had to fight hard for it, but we got the job done.
And with that, we wrap up yet another incredible Grand Prix weekend. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on the circuit and have come out on top.
Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One.
Well, we are race victors here in Portugal. Second place it goes to Charles Leclerc, with Carlos Sainz in 3rd. Ferrari cement themselves as the firm favourites in the team's championship, as if they were not already.
Let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. The scientist takes over the lead of the drivers' championship. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Often, my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Alrighty then. As always, let's take a little run through the finishing order, and then we'll go through the updates to the drivers and teams standings. So finishing order was obviously myself ahead of the two Ferraris, Leclerc and Sainz, and then it was Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, then Lance Stroll in P7 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon and Oscar Piastri, rounding out to the top 10. Kevin Magnussen in the Williams P13, not a bad result for him. And on a side note, we also took home the fastest lap points. In terms of the driver standings, we take the championship lead ahead of Max Verstappen, who is 15 points behind. So that puts us in a relatively comfortable position, but you know, for all we know, Max Verstappen could win the next 2 races and, you know, be right back in it. Actually, there's only 2 races left in the championship, but we are that close to the end now. So it is exciting times here in this final season of F1 22. Just Brazil and Abu Dhabi to go. But yeah, Charles Leclerc still also right in the fight, 18 points adrift. I think mathematically now Carlos Sainz is out of the fight, 59 points adrift. I think that's why he gave up that position to Charles Leclerc. Even if he stayed in second place, he would have been 56 points behind me. So yeah, mathematically he's out of it now. And yeah, they swap those positions to give Charles Leclerc the points. And yeah, he will of course need as many as he can get. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. Just 2 races to go. In terms of the team's championship, Ferrari still lead the way, 361 points for them. Red Bull are 56 points behind, and we are 106 points behind. So unlikely anything will change there, unless there's maybe like a double DNF for any one of those 2 teams. It's unlikely that any of those positions will change, but you never know. Crazier things can happen, but yeah, we'll see. But regardless, that is pretty much all there is to say about this race, I think. So yeah, a successful day for us. We've moved ourselves into the championship lead, so we can shift our focus on to the next round. We've moved ourselves onto Acclaim level 21 now, which is nice, and that is well, not probably of much use to us now. We don't really need money for anything from this point forward. We, again, like I said, I won't have time to put any more upgrades on the car with just 2 rounds left in the season, unless we can really rush in a chassis facility upgrade at some point, and then maybe if we can unlock a minor upgrade, but I doubt it. That's a real stretch for that line of events to happen. But anyway, we're going to renew that sponsor that just expired, and yeah, go straight to the activity timeline. We're going to do the reaction training for Oscar Piastri, and that will help his focus and awareness, which is always good. In terms of the chance of upgrading the chassis facility, no, we can't, unfortunately. So yeah, there goes the opportunity to do anything in terms of upgrades for the rest of the season. So yeah, I decided to check out R&D. Nothing we can really do there. So yeah, we just move on through the timeline then. Nothing else we can really do. It's a short turnaround between events here. And yeah, hopefully we get that.
We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
We didn't get. Thankfully, we will get in time for Abu Dhabi, so we will have 1 upgrade between Brazil and Abu Dhabi. The brake upgrade that failed. It should have been on the car in time for Brazil, but regardless, we will thankfully get something. So we will have another improvement to the car coming. But yeah, that's a little disappointment. But anyway, yeah, that is all for this one, unfortunately. So yeah, that is it. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.